Alright, welcome back to this fantastic episode, and today I want to talk about why I tend to ignore the Hungarian national holiday of the revolution of 1880, 1848 and 49. And the reason is not because of the historical background. That's pretty alright. It's normal, what you would expect, heroes on our side and villains on the other side. That's how these things usually work. Also, actually switching the lights on usually helps with the lighting situation. But anyways, the reason I tend to ignore it is simply because nowadays it is made into a sort of political agenda where the different political parties try to use it against each other. And people can't really make up their mind whether the whole thing is truly heroic and worthy of having a proper day, because it ultimately failed. But I think that it's just too controversial for me to have a statement on it. And of course, living in a UK means that it's not a day off for me. And that's mostly it. So, different topic. Programming. If you're not very good with programming or you're not interested, you might turn off here. It's not going to be very technical, but the truth is that it is going to be about programming. And if you don't like the subject, then, well, you know, there is nothing I can do about it at the moment. Now, on to the topic. So, here is the problem I'm facing, but this is really a general description of any problem any programmer has ever faced. So, I have a piece of script, and the script, what it does is very, very simple. If the user clicks on the next button, this is all web thing, by the way, but it applies to anything in the universe. So if the user clicks on the next button, my script checks if the issue we are dealing with has the property of high. It could be medium or low, but I don't care about medium or low. It's the high impact that I'm after. So if the user clicks next, and if this whole issue is of high impact, then something happens. Technically, some extra steps are needed. Okay, very simple. So, there is this web. Whatever, there is a next button, there is a previous as well, and then the user clicks there, that's fantastic. So, when it comes to testing, my script works fantastic. Brilliant. If this whole thing is high impact and the user did not do the extra steps, when I click on next, nothing happens except a warning message saying you can't go on because you have to do these extra steps. So, not very abstract, I hope. Okay, now, what about if I go back and change the impact of this issue from high to medium? Then I go to my button, click on next, and of course I can go on, because as you might remember, the whole validation here was that only if there is a high impact issue, then the user needs to do the extra steps in order for them to be able to do the next thing. So click on the next button. And switching on the lights again. Jesus Christ, I'm really not good at this. It's really, really complicated now because I switched my notebook to the camera to record with, and I think this just threw me off completely. Anyways, those of you who might remember, we were talking about programming and scripts and whatever. Okay, so I tested the script and I checked two different scenarios. One, if the issue is high impact, unable to click on the next button, well, without the error message. If the issue is medium impact, then there you go. Now for fun I checked low, works just as the same, because the issue needs to be high impact. I'm terribly sorry if I over-explain it, but now comes the fun part. If I go back now and switch from medium to high again after testing these two scenarios, and then go and click on the next button, what would you expect to happen? Yes, you are probably right, but the expected behavior is that because of the issue is high impact, I cannot go on. That's my script is all about. Unfortunately, if I go and change high to medium and then medium back to high, I can throw out the whole computer because it will just not work. It just lets you go through. Isn't it fantastic? Now, probably the solution is fairly simple, and most probably it is my fault. But until I figure out what I did wrong and where I went wrong with this whole thing, then I'm left in this, well, not really frustrated, but challenged mood. So that's the life of a developer, programmer, script writer, whatever you want to call it. That's IT. It does not work until you figure out why, or sometimes I can't. There was this whole problem a couple of weeks ago with parsing dates. Now, to those of you who don't know, parsing means that you have a piece of script written like January 2018, and then this thing goes over it and tries to pick out the month, the year, and whatever, and then put that into an object called a date object. So instead of piece of text, you would get a proper object, and you can do all sorts of stuff with it, like subtract dates or add 5 days or anything, because you can't do that with a piece of string, well, a piece of text. Anyways, so I tried 10 different variations and it just could not parse. It just could not create an object out of that text. The text was fine. It had the days, the month, the year, the hour, the everything. And it just wouldn't work. So after the 10th variation, I went back to the first one. I know I went back to the first one because I kept a record of what I did, and it worked. So after 2 hours, while I swear I did not change anything at all other than the way it parses that little part, it went from, no, I'm not going to work, then 9 versions, obviously not going to work, went back for the first one. Oh yeah, that's fine now. You've suffered enough. And I guess that's what computers are all about. Suffering. Once you've suffered enough, you're allowed to continue. So I guess that's it for Friday, because there aren't a lot of things I can talk about on a Friday. Mainly I'm just preparing mentally for the weekend adventure. And I'm really excited about the tiny village. Housing the tiny village. So that's it, thanks for watching, and I don't think I have any questions for today, except how excited are you about Friday? It's amazing. Goodbye.